got my card! Yay! I'm an official resident.
Yes.
Temporary one.
Hey, this is Ada.
And this is Stefan.
And welcome to Living Simply in Mexico.
All right, so this is going to be just a brief focused video today about my temporary residency.
Congratulations.
Yes, I'm a temporary resident of Mexico, finally! And now I can be down here a little bit longer. We decided now is the time to do it, right?
Yeah, they didn't necessarily want you, but
exactly.
you finally got it done.
So we're going to talk in this episode to Nestor, who helped us through the process. Now, Ada is a dual citizen, and she's got some great videos on getting her Mexican citizenship via her mom, who was born in Mexico. And so we wanted to see if I could go the familial route, which is common for folks that have a spouse that has Mexican citizenship. And it was interesting because it said, oh, great, we don't have to go through all the financial stuff that they typically have to do for a normal temporary residency if you're just come down by yourself. But we didn't realize is the effort, right, to go on the familial side.
There were a lot more steps. Apparently, it got more complicated this year.
Yes.
And that's, I think, the important thing to take away from this. This is going to be our experience as of April 2026.
Late April 26, yes.
Because things changed for us even along the way, like every time we went in. So be especially careful when you're going into, if you happen to be watching this 2027 or just after a change.
I got my residency, my temporary residency here in Puerto Vallarta, thanks to Nestor, who has a service that does this for us. We'll put his information down below. And we wanted to give you at least our experience and some basically lessons learned from our experience related to doing the temporary residency. Now, in our case, we did it through familial ties, so this will have a more bent to that. But if you're doing just residency in general, this will apply to you. A lot has changed in the past 6 months about getting residency here. So, Nestor, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and be the one who can answer some questions about this matter.
Excellent. And Ada, thank you for being my Mexican wife.
Yes.
To get me through the process. So I think there's a couple things. One is, tell us a little bit about getting regular temporary residency and getting residency through familial ties.
When you are married to a Mexican,
right,
or you have a child with a Mexican, and the regular residency is that you need to prove economic solvency at the Mexican consulate. It's much easier for family ties because it's you need to bring your marriage certificate or a birth certificate. Mm-hmm. All depends the case. But nowadays both should be easy. Mm-hmm. But nowadays, the family ties, it's very, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's taking longer than it used to be.
Yeah, and I think that I cut the first part. It's like, oh yeah, it's easy. You don't have to show your financials. It should be a quicker in and out. But what we didn't realize, and with especially the recent changes as we got in here to 2026, is that there's a lot more confirmations about those familial ties that we ran into, right? And so what... and tell us a little bit about what we ran into when proving your familial ties. What did they ask for? And I think they asked for some stuff if you've done here locally, and it's different if you went through a consulate in the United States or in other countries. So what were the differences that we found?
Well, if you do everything here locally, you will need the marriage certificate. An apostilled marriage certificate, a proof of address, and a passport, and other forms and applications if you are doing here. And once the process is running, one of the most complicated things is that the immigration office needs to needs to go and check your address, and you need to be there to check the family ties. If you need to husband, wife, or child, whatever the case, how you are doing the process. So this is when this is gonna take longer because they won't let you know when they are coming to your
months,
place.
right?
Yes, could be 3, 4, 6, 7 months. All depends the area. But now it's what it's taking now. So be aware about that. And if you do this process outside of Mexico, well, you need to go to the Mexican consulate and you need to, it's almost the same paperwork, but it could be faster.
All right, Stefan.
All right, yay!
You're successful.
I got my visa sticker.
Yay!
Much easier in Houston than in Puerto Vallarta, I must have to say. So,
Yeah, that was, we made an appointment at 1.
2 o'clock, done.
And 2 o'clock, I'll finish. So yeah, that was pretty efficient.
They did ask me how my Spanish was and had to do a little practice there with them, so I thought that was interesting. But yeah, so now we got fly back. 30 days to switch the sticker to get the card, and finally we did it. So yeah, so if you have the option to go in Puerto Vallarta, say, or come up to a consulate, much easier up in the States to get your sticker and go in, at least from our experience.
And more if you gave them a Mexican marriage certificate that you can get here, and that's a different process. But you could work on a marriage Mexican certificate here. They call an inscription at the civil registry. That paperwork, that paper will help you a lot at the Mexican consulate and will make everything faster and easier for you.
Yes, yeah, and that's what we found. So we basically had a Mexican marriage certificate that we then took to Houston, Texas. We scheduled an appointment at Houston, Texas, which was not as difficult as what it would have been here. We scheduled an appointment. We came in together. And then we got the sticker, right? And that's was that the canje process, or what's
just the visa? It's the visa, and it calls canje. It is the process how they call canje.
Yeah. Now, what was interesting is they did ask me some questions, right? So they said, do you speak Spanish? And I gave a few words in Spanish, and it was enough to say, okay, you guys are legit, and we got that process, and then we came down here. Now, the other part of that is because obviously we didn't have time to wait around for many months for someone to randomly stop by our house. What I thought, and what I thought was incorrect, is now since you have that sticker, you go into the INM office and then they print you out a card and you're done. It's just an administration process. But that process in and of itself has taken longer, especially here in Puerto Vallarta, right?
Yes, it's taking at least 20 business days. Only in Jalisco, Guadalajara.
Yeah.
Any office, in any immigration office, only in Jalisco State. I have heard that other offices like Nayarit faster than here, but be aware about Jalisco. Jalisco is taking at least 20 business days. Not all the paperwork, but I think the fastest it could be a canje process. I would like to be more specific about what canje is. A canje is when you are exchanging your visa stamp in your passport to get your permanent or your temporary residence card. That's how it's canje, the meaning about canje.
Got it. Oh, very good. That's so all the real work was done for us in the Houston consulate, and it was just the administration of exchanging that. Now, one of the things you can do, which is difficult, is we're expecting 3 weeks. It happens sooner for us, but you should expect 3 weeks. So if you're coming down here for 2 weeks trying to get your residency, don't expect that. The only way you can get around that is if you basically, and it's basically a permission to leave and come back, right? But
only in an emergency.
But it's only more in an emergency, right?
Yes.
That's something to consider. Now, the other thing is you think that the familiar process is a little bit more of a headache. The good news with the process is it's a much shorter timeline to permanent residency and even citizenship, right? So what's a typical process length for a normal temporary residency to permanent resident versus a familial ties version?
Okay. Well, when you are using a family ties, instead waiting 4 years, you will wait only 2.
2, yeah.
So in a canje process, we can they cannot give you the 2 years in one step. So we got your temporary residence card, but the expiration date, we will need to get a renewal the next year. So we will need to. It's gonna be in two steps, but it's only 2 years. After that, we will be ready to get the permanent.
Yeah.
But about your question, it's only 2 years instead 4 years, the regular.
Got it. And I think the last thing is the discount. So if you do the familial ties, there is a discount for that process, which is approximately 50%.
50%.
But the timing is important, right? So when we went to the same cost to the Houston Consulate, there was no discounts there. But when we got our canje, came down here to then process and pay for the residency, you had mentioned that we have to tell them that this is familial ties at
Yes.
that point, because they don't necessarily know at that point, right?
No, they don't. They don't know how was the process till they check all the background, and then sometimes at the Mexican consulate they didn't do the process as a family tie.
Oh.
So that's why you need to make sure and ask
mentioned
them,
that,
yeah,
yeah.
and that you start the process as a family tie because you want to get the 50% discount.
Yeah, which is significant.
But, yeah, because most of the time they just I have heard from guys working at the immigration office, they don't do discounts in the canje process.
Yeah.
So that's why when we were working on that, that was my first question to them. You know, we are starting this process as a family unit. They start all this process in the Mexican consulate. So I just wanted to know that because we want to get a 50% discount.
Yeah.
So they double check and they check, okay, it's okay, you can get the 50% discount.
Yeah.
But without that information, they will charge you the full amount.
Yes.
So you need, there are details, that you have to mention, but if you don't do it,
Yeah,
will-
you're in the right stage of the
Yes.
process. Yeah, and so then that's the thing. We try to utilize ChatGPT, and things change so much in that process, right? That you can't rely on that. Like between, again, 25 and 26, and even by, your specific I&M office will be different. And so it's important to have someone like Nestor to help you out. And thank you so much, Nestor, for that.
my pleasure.
Any other comments? Ada was huge. She was a documentarian and all this sort of stuff.
No, I think the only thing that you left out was that either way, whether you start things on the Mexican side or the American side, you will still need to have that utility bill that has the current utility bill. And once again, when you're doing that initial process to get that inscripted Mexican, marriage certificate, make sure that your apostilled U.S. Mexican or marriage certificate is preferably within a 3 to 6 month period, because if it's much older than that, they're probably going to ask you to have a more recent one.
So keep everything recent there, and yes. So it could be a very easy process for you. It could be very long. For us, we had some road bumps along the way, but ably held by Nestor and getting through that process. And so onward, upward. There we go. Thanks, Nestor. Really appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
All right. Good luck to you out there in getting your residency. So that's it for the episode. Let us know your thoughts about your experiences with going through the temporary or permanent residence process or the citizenship process. I'd love to hear about that as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching.
Take care. Like, subscribe, and all the other good stuff.